Hi there, my name is Kaitlin Wienand, and today I'm going to be presenting my Visual Perceptual resource box for JMD 351. So let's begin. First of all, I'm going to be starting with the visual discrimination resources. So here they are. I have labeled them in this folder, and then I have also put some of them in these containers, and they are also labeled. So first of all, we have the first resources, which one is the same. So I've bound these together and I've given a description on the front, and then as you can see, the learner will have to distinguish which one is the same as this one, and there are 12 different activities. So that is which one is the same, and then we move on to which one is different. Also bound this together and given a description in the front, so the learner will look at these different pictures and distinguish which one is different from the rest. Then we move on to geometric shapes. So I put these in a box just because I thought that they would be better together and separated. So for these geometric shapes, we have 3 different types of the same shape. 3 different types of circles, well, 3 different sizes, and there's a whole lot of circles in them. They all just join together. I've just sticky taped them together so that they stay together. So we have 3 different types of circles, 3 different types of squares, 3 different types of rectangles, and 3 different types of triangles. Rectangles, and then the different types of triangles. Okay, so those are our geometric shapes, and then we move on to our shadow animals, and they are also in a box. They look like this. There's a red and a green for every shape or every animal. So here are my shadow animals. Then we move on to the 5 differences. So learners will get these activities and distinguish 5 differences between these 2 pictures. So look at the first one and then the second one, and then either circle with a marker or use their finger to identify the differences. And then we have picture pairs. So these can be used for games or just identification. So there are cards that are exactly the same. You can lay them out on a table and the learner will pick the 2 cards that are exactly the same amongst all the other cards. Those are picture cards. That concludes our visual discrimination resources. Now we move on to our visual memory and sequencing resources. So first of all, for our visual memory and sequencing resources, there's my box. We start off with colored cards. So you'll give learners these cards and they'll look at them for a few seconds, and then you'll take the cards away and ask them questions about these cards. Then we move on to recollection of letters. So here are the different letters. It's the whole alphabet all the way up to Z. So those are the different letters. And then we have letter combinations. So this is what that looks like. So I have a whole lot in here. Just different combinations for them to read or to look at. So those are different letter combinations. And then we have find the correct words on both sides. So you look at boot and you try and find boot on this side. So these are the different cards for that. So a learner will look at the first word and then try and find it on the back. So that is find the correct words, and then we move on to letter cards. So these are these cards, so the learner will look at the top one and try and find the same one at the bottom. And then we move on to sight words. So these are just a whole lot of words for learners to read out and say to the teacher. So there's a whole lot of different types of words. And then lastly, we have word cards. As you can see, there are a whole lot here, so I'll just take out a few to show you. Words like help, eat, take, and so on. So that concludes our visual memory and sequence resources. And then we move on to our visual foreground and background resources. They are in this folder, labeled as well. To start off with our visual foreground and background resources, we have hidden objects. So the learner will look at these cards and try and find the different hidden objects and count how many there are. And then we have hidden words. So learners will get given these cards and have to read the sentences and then find the letter D, or find the word mud, or find the word crocodile. And then we move on to path cards, which look like this. So the learners will either use their finger or a pen to try and connect the path to that. Try and connect the mouse to the cheese. So those are the different path cards. And then we have overlapping objects. As you can see here, these objects are overlapping. There's a strawberry and a lemon, glasses and a watch. So those are the different cards. Then we move on to picture puzzles. Now I've put these all together so that they would stay together. But for example, we have, so here are all the different picture puzzles. So I'm going to just use this one as an example. We have the man. So if you take the man apart, the learner will need to try and figure out how the man forms and put the cards in their correct places. So those are my picture cards. And then, or picture puzzles should I say, and then find the words. So here are the find the words worksheets. As you can see, there are a whole lot of different types. So the learners will have to find the words from these above pictures. So that concludes our visual foreground and background resources. Okay, now we move on to visual analysis and synthesis. So I've labeled these in a plastic packet. So we start off with shapes. Here are the different shapes. Also stack them together, so I'll just show you like this. The different shapes. So those are the different shapes. And then we have the diagrams of shapes, which are these, nice and colorful. And then we have the face resource, which looks like this. And along with this are the different parts for it. So there's a lady and a man. And here are the mouth, nose, eyes, ears, all of those. And then we also have the missing parts. So in these worksheets here, you can see that there are a few missing parts. So the missing parts are over here. again, I've sticky taped these together. So here are all the missing parts for this lady. So the learner will have to put them in the right places. And then here are the missing parts for the next card. So the learner will have to put these all in the right places. And then we have animal cards, which are cut in half. So I've also sticky taped these together. So they have the different sides of the animal card. So this is the front part of the tortoise, and then the back top part of the tortoise is in here as well. And then we just grab out a few so that you can see. So for example, the lizard. So there's a front and back part, and the learner would have to match the two together. And then we, last but not least, have picture cards with mixed up words. So these are what they look like. So, for example, this is pear, but obviously the words are scrambled up. And we have grapes, but obviously the words are also scrambled up. So that concludes our visual analysis and synthesis resources. Now we move on to form consistency, and I've got these also labeled in a box like this. So first of all, we start off with different font letter cards. So these are the following. So we have all these different letters, all in red. Oh, I think these are, yeah, all in red. Different font, different color. The green one, the standard one, the cursive, and the orange one. So there are 6 different fonts of the letters, all different colors as well. Then we move on to different font word cards. So these are also different words in different fonts and different colors. So we have fonts like that, and like that, and like that, and like that. Then we've got arrows. So I've also stuck them all together. So the different arrows, as well as these different types of arrows. And then we also have matches and card. So we have matches and then cards. So you'll place the matches on the right diagram in the right places. So that concludes our form consistency. Then lastly, we have visual conceptualization. And this is the following. So let me show you my box for visual conceptualization. So this is my box. So first of all, we have function cards. So these are the different function cards. Teapot, umbrella. So learner will look at these and tell the teacher what the functions are of each one. Glasses help me see better, and so on. Then we have cut pictures. So I've cut these all up and then also stuck them together. But let me show you what they look like. So the learner will have to put these together themselves. So you can see this is a plug. So the learner will have to put these together. So there's a whole lot of those. I'll just show you that I have a few more. Another few more. So those are some of them. And then we also have cartoons. So I decided to print out all the cartoons. So there's the egg story, the pumpkin seed, and the squirrel. So it follows a course throughout each one. I can show you by taking this apart. So the egg story, the chicken, the egg, and so on and so on. Then we move on to, well, included in that is the shell-shocked turtle that I also printed out and laminated, and this is a fun story to read, yeah, for the learners. And then we have classification of cards, which are these. So you look at the cards and you see what groups they classify in. So for example, an apple would be with the rest of the fruit, lemon would join with that, and so on. A butterfly would go with the insects, so the learners would have to categorize those. Then we also have pictures of categories. So these are these. So these are the farm animals, and the learner has to distinguish which one does not fit in the mix. So obviously the crocodile does not fit in the mix here. And then we have picture pairs belonging together. So here are my picture pairs. So for example, there's an igloo here. Let me just undo these quick. There's a bird. So the learners would have to match the similar picture pairs together. So as you can see here, so there's a dress, for example, and then there is a coat hanger. So the coat hanger and the dress would go together, as you can see. So those are the different picture pairs. And then we have opposites. So there's small and big, and day and night, and full and empty, and old and young. So these are different. I'll show you. Open, and then obviously the other one is closed. And then we have which part is not true. So as a teacher, you would read this paragraph here and then ask the learner to tell you which part of this paragraph is not true. So for example, I wear my slippers in summer when it's hot. I wear it with socks and tie it with shoelaces. So obviously there's a part in here that is not true, and the learner would have to identify that. Then we move on to true or false. So you read out this list to the learner and ask them, trees and grass are blue. Are they? Is that true or is that false? So you ask them these questions. And then last but not least, similarities and differences. So we'd explain the similarities and the differences between these two. Learners would have to help you identify what they are. And that concludes my resource box for JMD 351. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed listening, and yeah, have a good day.